So, today on Modern Sages, we're going to be talking about the importance of sacred ceremony. And this is, of course, one of my favorite subjects. Sacred ceremony has made such a difference in my life on so many levels. And so, today we're just going to dive in and we're going to talk about the ways that we can create sacred ceremony and sacred space
Mm-hmm.
and all the amazing healing benefits on all levels
Yeah. Can I
we
just
can
say,
experience.
yeah, in my experience, since working with you, learning a lot about creating sacred space and opening up that ability has transformed who I am. And it's something that my
Mm.
soul craves now. It's like, I need to have that more in my life. And I feel like as we get caught in the day-to-day things, it's almost like we forget about that essence of who we are. And creating sacred space really helps remind us that we are a spirit having a physical experience, but also it's creating sacred space, creating sacred purpose to help us navigate through this life a little bit more easily as well.
Yes. Yes. And one of the most pivotal reasons, or the biggest reasons of why creating sacred space and ceremony is so powerful, is because you're really focusing in your intention. You're giving all of your energy, all of your focus and intention on creating that sacred space, or you're using all of your energy and all of your intention to do that sacred ceremony. And when you focus in on your intention on such a strong level for a period of time, the amount of power, the amount of energy that you are able to surround yourself with, that support of the universe around you, it increases, because everybody talks about the power of intention.
Mm-hmm.
And this incorporates the power of intention, and it does it over a period of time where you're really focusing in on a certain intention.
Yeah.
And when you do that, when you're aligned with spirit, whether you do the tube of light meditation and or another kind of meditation to be able to align yourself to your higher self, and you call upon the directions and you call upon your creator, and you're smudging, and all of that energy and all of that power of intention and magic that is inside of you gathers the energy of the universe around you. And that is where the magic happens. The
Yes.
healing transformations is in that space. And I was so excited to talk about this more because I feel like a lot of people don't incorporate the sacred in their lives. They kind of just either don't think about it or they kind of brush it under the rug.
And I know a lot of where maybe we have a specific structure or something that we participate in weekly or monthly. And it's kind of just sometimes it's easy to kind of just show up and not fully have your spirit involved in it. And it's almost like when we're kind of in pilot mode, when we're not fully aligned, it kind of cheats us out of fully experiencing this human journey.
Yeah.
And sacred space, creating sacred ceremony, brings in such healing in such a magnified way that it's so beautiful.
It is. And what's so cool about it too is that you don't have to wait,
Yeah.
to that once a week. You can incorporate this within the week whenever you feel called upon to do it. If you're feeling that something needs healing in your life, or something needs extra focus, or you want to draw something into your life, you can create sacred ceremony at any time.
Yeah.
And I love using the natural cycles of the moon and the seasons, and I like to incorporate that into sacred ceremony, but you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that anytime you incorporate things or you integrate the seasons, it's almost like it increases that energy of intention and visualization by saying, okay, I'm going to do it at this certain time. And I'm going to, if I'm going to do it the new moon or the full moon or at this season or that season or this time of the year, that time of the year, and you're incorporating sacred ceremony, thinking about that, it does increase the level of intention, which increases that level of energy or power for that sacred ceremony, though. So there is benefit to it, even though you don't have to do it.
Yeah, it kind of is like the cycle of life though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is everything is in a cycle. we see the phases of the moon. That's a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
When females have their moon time, that's also a cycle. Life and death, like our whole experience in this physical form is a cycle.
Yes.
It's a rebirth, it's a rejuvenation of letting go, releasing, and then creating new. And so I feel like creating sacred space almost gives you extra strength or extra power to connect into that cycle that is naturally part of what we're all going to be experiencing in this physical journey.
Yes.
And so it brings in such a great dynamic of really working with the universe, working with God's love, working with your ancestors, as well as helping bring these things into form. Because as we know, we're a multidimensional being, right? Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. But also when things hit into our energy system, it almost is like we have spirit, then it goes into the energetic, then it could hit our emotions, and then we could feel it physically. So not only that is we have this energy level, we have this aura, this bubble around us that also has levels or cycles in which it integrates into our space. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like it's a great way of releasing and also rebirth, rejuvenating, regenerating in a way that you're not leaving your energetic debris everywhere. You're creating the sacred space to release, to cleanse, to set intention, to heal, and then you close it back up.
Yes.
So that it's not just lurking around wherever you go.
Yes. So let's talk about how you create sacred space.
Yes.
Because I know some of people in our audience may not know exactly what that is. And when a shaman calls or creates sacred space, they call upon the directions and the powers of the directions. And the directions are all connected in with an element, whether it be air, fire, water, or earth. Mm-hmm. And we work with not only the 4 directions, but we also work with above, below, and center. So the 7 sacred directions. And above is connecting to the Great Spirit or your Heavenly Father, Mother, God, force, energy. And it also connects you with the angels and those who assist you from above. And then below is when you connect with Mother Earth. And in the Incan shamanic traditions, they call her Pachamama, which I love saying that. Just saying
I love
that,
it too.
Pachamama. It just feels so good to even say that. But when you honor below, you're connecting with Mother Earth and everything that she has that is a part of her body or that she creates. So we honor the mineral kingdom, we honor the plant kingdom, we honor the animal kingdom when we call upon below. And then the seventh direction is your heart. It's like, if you think about the center of a wheel or the spokes of a wheel, it's like that center point that connects with all of those different directions.
And I love the symbolism of that too, because it goes back into showing that we are connected. Like our heart is that divine connection to spirit, to Mother Earth, to all of the elementals. It's connected to our gifts of spirit. It's connected to everything.
Yes.
And when we're fully connected in our heart center, we're able to fully be experiencing life here. Yes. And so when it's like we align all of those areas above and below, and then we really bring that power back within ourselves to say, hey, I'm claiming all of this. I'm a part of this creation. Please give me the words or the energy or the space to like remember and move that into my space. But it kind of brings the power back within you because you are the universe.
Yes.
You are God's love. Everything is not separated. And so it kind of helps you bring that back into your space of like, I'm connected, I'm divine. And now what?
Right. Yeah. And there's so much sacred symbolism and the symbolism of the circle or sacred geometry talks about this. And you'll notice that the tribes that all the indigenous cultures, they would meet in circles and talk about the power of the circle, or you have the drum that's shaped like a circle, which connects you with your ancestors, with how you are connected with all things. So the circle represents that unification, us and our connection, that we're all one, that there is no separation between us and the divine or us and our ancestors, the ones that are here and the ones that have crossed the veil. And it doesn't disconnect us from our connection to Mother Earth, or and then we can never be separated from our divinity. That is the center of the circle. That it's like, even when shamans create sacred space and they move in a circle, they create the fire at the center of the circle, which represents your divine nature, that spark of spirit, the light that is within you. And so it's like, when you do sacred ceremony and you burn things in that sacred fire, it's so symbolic. It's so powerful because it represents the transformative power that is inside of you, that at any moment you can recreate, that you can connect and you can transform into something else.
I love that. And even thinking about in the olden days, a lot of houses were patterned around the fire to keep the family warm, the hearth of the family, the hearth of the house. And so ever since ancient times, you know, indigenous, as well as people who were going throughout making houses, like, it's always been a part of our experience. Like, this has always been a part of humankind in just different places throughout the world. And so it might show up in one way somewhere in different parts of the world, and they might have different sayings or different traditions, but ultimately it's holding the same intention, which I think is so beautiful. It's so symbolic that we're all one, we're all connected. Creating sacred space isn't something foreign or unknown. In fact, it's part of who we are. It's this holy space.
Yes, it is. And it brings you, it's like every time you connect with a direction, it makes you so hyper aware of that interconnection. Like, for example, like when you call upon the East and you're thinking about what East represents, which is, it's the space of new beginnings. You think of the sunrise coming up every morning and the opportunities to be reborn, to change directions, to see things from a brand new perspective, that bird's eye view. It connects you with the element of air, and you think about being like an eagle, you know, rising out of your problems and seeing things from the overall perspective instead of being caught in the middle of the forest or the maze of your life. And so it reminds you, it's like when you call upon the directions and you create sacred space, it reminds you of those pieces of wisdom that those directions teach us. They remind us to say, take yourself out of the drama. Try to kind of see things in your life from an overall bless you. Energy is moving, air.
Ooh, I apologize.
But you know, it's like East reminds you of like taking yourself out of the drama of your life and really seeing things from an overall perspective. And then you move into the South, which for us in our shamanic training, we do that as fire because of our location on the planet. Because sometimes the shamanic cultures, they'll switch the elements, like West and South will sometimes be switched. Like South will be water and West will be fire. But for us, the ocean is closest to the West. So it's like we correlate the West being the element of water. But when you think about the lessons of South, and it's like, what would we do if we when we don't have passion, when we don't have a reason for doing what we do in life, we don't have a vision that East brings us, and we don't have a fire to get us to move forward, or we don't feel confident, which many of us have struggled with issues of self-worth and not feeling good enough. Fire gives you that courage,
the extra strength.
Yeah, you've got this. Just do it. Just do it. And it's the alchemical fire of facing your fear, just like what you were saying on our last shows, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
That energy of fire, when you feel fear and you do it anyway, that is the stuff. That is the alchemical fire that transforms a human being and causes them to expand in themselves and to learn something about themselves and to grow.
Yes. And it almost is like sometimes you have to burn things down to create new. So I feel like going into the South also helps you sometimes break down those things or let those things go so you can. It's like you see things from a different perspective from the East, and then the South really helps you kind of refine that, move through
Mhm.
that, and bring up this new passion within.
It's like the phoenix rising out of the ashes, transforming
Yes.
into something. You had to crumble the old,
Yes.
the old frame or the old constraints, the old beliefs. We were talking about this earlier because when people shift from the head to the heart, which is the longest journey you'll ever take in this
Yes.
life.
Over and over and over again.
Absolutely, man. But when you've created a life of shoulds and ought tos and guilts and shame and all of these different energies, and you're healing and you're coming back into yourself, you're coming home to yourself, to the heart, and you're saying, it's not what my heart wants. This is not how I want to express myself, or what is really in alignment with what my heart desires to create for my life. There is a turning point where when you really stand in your truth, where sometimes it'll feel like things are crumbling around you because it's like
Yes.
all those old systems and relationships and things that you created from that mindset of the shoulds and I ought to do this and guilt or shame or whatever,
Yeah.
it created a life. It created relationships, and there is a point of shedding where you have to kind of allow that to fall so that the phoenix can rise out of that fire and be aligned and then create a life that represents that energy of the heart.
Good.
And so it's like sometimes when that transition happens, we're like, oh my gosh, are we doing the right thing?
Yeah, it's a little
It
overwhelming,
can be a
and
little overwhelming.
people might view you as someone who maybe is losing your marbles a little bit.
Yes.
But ultimately, we came here, and in the Aquarian age, it's all about living a heart-centered life. And sometimes we have to let go and fall back and surrender. We were talking about this. We're filming a Gifts of Spirit course. And at one point, we were talking about falling back and surrendering into your gifts,
the trust,
instead of trying to force it. And it's almost like when we can surrender and allow the fire to consume, and then we can move forward powerfully instead of trying to control where the fire goes. Because we know if something is burning, you can't control that fire most of the time, especially if it's in like a house. It's going to do its thing. It's going to be rampant, but it's so beautiful at the same time.
Thank you for watching Modern Sages. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We are so grateful for your support. We have an Instagram account as well as on Facebook. We have our podcast, which is the Modern Sages podcast.
And we are so excited to launch our Gifts of Spirit classes in our Modern Sages Mystery School.
Absolutely. Oh, we're so excited. So we're going to link the information below in the show notes for more information about our mystery school.